Hello again, I'm Francisco Lee, and I'm here today again with Zaira, my trusted lawyer. And today we're going to talk about the difference between a Fideicomiso and a Mexican corporation. For investors that come here to invest in the real estate market in Los Cabo and Todos Santos, it's very important to know which are the differences and if you need to have a Fideicomiso or a Mexican corporation for your purposes. So Zaira, please give us a comparison about the two things, and please let us know what you would suggest to each and every different kind of investor, okay?
Okay, awesome. Okay, so we talked before about a fideicomiso, that it's pretty much a vehicle of administration. The bank lends their name, so it allows you, foreigner, to acquire a property. What is a corporation? A corporation is a legal entity that has its own personality, pretty much as another Mexican. It's going to have one of the particularities, its own Mexican nationality.
Okay.
So that being said, there's key differences between one and the other. Specifically speaking, one, the responsibility. The fideicomiso, it's the responsibility of the bank and the owner. Who is responsible for the corporation? Only the owner. So you're the person in charge of running taxes, the operation, filing corporate docs. It has a bit more of obligations than a fideicomiso. Your obligations with a fideicomiso is pretty much just pay in time. And if you have the length of the fideicomiso ending anytime soon, to renew that permit for an additional 50 years.
Okay.
Corporations don't die. Corporations you can establish in the articles of incorporation if they're going to last 100 years, if they're not going to expire unless the partners decide to do so in a shareholders meeting. And well, it has another peculiarities, just as having to take care of your own taxes, just as an individual would do.
Okay. And so which would be the cost of opening a fideicomiso and which is the cost of opening a Mexican corporation?
Okay. Both of them have similar costs applied to different areas. So opening a fideicomiso has two main costs, regardless the notary, that is unavoidable for any closing. First, we need to process the permit for the Foreign Affairs Ministry. That has an average cost of $1,000 depending on the exchange rate, and an annual fee that in average for any bank it's about $500 plus the acceptance fee that is paid only one time for another $500. Now for setting up a corporation, it is pretty much the same. There's additional steps that are not considered part of the notary fees, but in average, creating a corporation has a cost of 20,000 pesos, $1,000. However, there's an additional couple of steps that you need to consider that has additional costs. Not only setting up the corporation, but creating the tax ID of the company, having a bank account. So one of the additional expenses naturally would be to have an accountant to help you with all those purposes.
And now, the most important part. When to choose to have a fideicomiso and when it's very important to choose a Mexican corporation. So, if you're a buyer and you're looking to buy one property, what would you recommend?
If the property that you want to buy is just for you to live, if it's your retirement home, do a fideicomiso. It's easier to administer. Your only responsibility is paying the annual fee for the bank, and there's no additional hurdles that you have to go through. If you're one buyer that you're thinking of buying one property and making it an investment property and having it for vacational rentals, depending on what's your immigration status. Are you going to become a Mexican resident? Because there's tax advantages in that for short-term rentals in Airbnb. If you're thinking in becoming a resident in Mexico, do the fideicomiso. If you're gonna buy the property to make business and you're not thinking in becoming resident, do a corporation. So an additional scenario, if you're already thinking in investing in several properties at a time, you can avoid the expense of creating a fideicomiso in at least $2,000, having one corporation. It's important to remember that the corporation, it's pretty much an individual with its own capacity, its own personality, its own tax ID, and has the ability, just as any Mexican, to hold any number of properties that the law allows them. So if you're thinking in buying several properties, do a corporation.
Okay. If you're thinking to buy many property as an investment, a Mexican corporation is the key to do it. Follow us for another episode of this little podcast because we're going to talk about how important it is to have a Mexican corporation and which are the keys to reduce the taxes if you're looking to have some investing property to rent in the Los Cabos market. See you on the next video.